Before we get down to business with this list, I'd like to apologize for making you wait yet another week for that upcoming Icewind Dale II review. But if it's any spoilery consolation, know that our next entry in our Road to Baldur's Gate 3 series deserves any amount of time we devote to putting it together. I thought I'd seize the opportunity to get this off my chest. I've always considered my capacity for analysis to be my one glaring strength when it comes to video games, often making up for a decided lack of hand-thumb coordination and mental agility. I often like to engage in extensive trial and error processes that are more akin to the application of the scientific method than to anything you do in a video game to find low-risk ways to get through the toughest situations. And I've always taken a great deal of pride in this way of doing things. When the internet became a thing in the late 90s, I came to the shocking realization that people considered my approach to video games to be cheesing it. Do you have any idea how much trial and error it takes to find out that if you climb up that little tower and then jump onto that roof, you can make this nasty nigh impossible boss commit suicide?
Do you like cheese?
Why, yes, I do.
That's what I call a sound tactical assessment of the situation and a safe application of the knowledge gathered. That's how we get through obstacles in life. And like EA used to say, back in the day when they were good, if it's in the game, it's in the game. If From Software didn't want me to completely skip this fight, they shouldn't have allowed this to happen in the first place. But it seems like developers have taken the side of these gatekeepy assholes who aren't about to let people have their ways with their games, and they have come out with despicable anti-tactical assessment modifications called patches. Unacceptable if you ask me. But sometimes turning the table on a game that's been grinding your balls or ovaries to dust at every turn is not a matter of painstaking trial and error. Sometimes that sweet cheese comes in the form of a companion who hits like a truck or is able to take care of all these other things you've been struggling with thus far. And today we're here to pay homage to those companions who carried us on their backs all the way to the finish line. To you, I say this.
You're the real MVP.
So cut yourself a slice of your favorite cheese, fill up your cups, and get ready for our top 10 companions gameplay-wise.
I'm drinking wine and eating cheese and catching some rays, you know.
Before we start, a few notes on the criteria being used are in order, so here they are. First, this list will only take into account characters that you may bring along or leave for missions, companions over which you have some sort of control, like being able to level them individually or equipping them with gear. So although you can equip it with stuff, your pet from Torchlight 2 will have to sit this one out. This list is the exact opposite of our previous list. This time we will only take into account how useful, game-changing, or powerful a companion is, even if it's poorly written or a pain in the ass to listen to. I have a personal no-stacking policy when it comes to making lists, so only one character per franchise is allowed. And last but not least, this is a personal list. It's not meant to be the definitive list of the best companions of all time, just ones that made my life easier. If you expect to see people like this fucker or this fucker, then spoiler alert, you will be disappointed. But rather than smashing that dislike button, why not leave your own list in the comment section down below? And while you're at it, how about smashing that big bright red subscribe button? So without further ado, here's our list. Lydia Skyrim. Lydia is an internet meme by now, but none of us shunned her help when we first met her in Skyrim. Lydia truly was the MVP in Skyrim. In a game in which you can steal everything that's not nailed down, having a humanoid pack horse come into your life just as you are running out of inventory space is a breath of fresh air. Lydia also takes care of the tanking for you while you figure out what to do with your spells and your little bow and arrows. In truth, Lydia could have taken care of a large chunk of the game all by herself if it weren't for the fact that you were meant to be the protagonist of the story. Miles, Wizardry 8. I admit that my party builds often suffer from an excess of future. And when you focus entirely on building your party to make them super strong at some point in the game, you're setting yourself for a world of pain in the early stages of the game. Never was this more the case than in Wizardry 8. While I eventually ended up pulverizing everything and everyone in this game, the early stages of this game felt like freaking turn-based Dark Souls to me. This pain came to an abrupt end when I met Miles. I'm not crazy at all about rogues and RPGs, but these games make sure that there are enough annoying traps and game-changing loot locked inside chests for you to absolutely make sure to always include a rogue in your party. Much to my surprise, in addition to the usual array of thieving skills that come with a class, Miles brought some insane combat skills. He was a damage powerhouse who was also quite surprisingly very hard to hit. He was an annoying and whiny piece of work,
I think you best be treating me with a little more respect.
But you know what? If a companion's going to make my game go from pain in the ass to walk in the park, I'll take him any day over more pleasant company. Kagain, Baldur's Gate. While Edwin is a magic damage powerhouse who can turn your adventuring world around, I always felt like there were other companions who could take up the magical DPS duties just as competently. And I don't think the same can be said of the tanking duties in the original Baldur's Gate. Kagain is second to none in this respect. Even if your main character is a stout, strong, and handsome dwarven defender, it's worth having Kagain in your party. Off-tanking is never a bad thing in Baldur's Gate, and with the right gear, he can also hit like a truck. Unfortunately, Kagain left my party halfway through because I was too much of a goody-doer for his taste. I missed him more than some of my ex-girlfriends, I'll tell you that much. Eduardo Carnela, Stygian, Ring of the Old Ones. If you want your experience with Stygian to be a challenging, tough-as-nails, turn-based combat affair, you're better off trusting your gut and rejecting the shady-looking henchman when he offers to join your party. But if you want to enjoy Stygian's adequately Lovecraftian immersion, the descent into insanity, and the brain-dislocating story while breezing through the combat, then Eduardo Carnela is your man. When you meet someone who carries an automatic pistol he calls La Diosa Fortuna, and a club he creatively named El Palo, you know you're in the presence of a badass. Murky, Pillars of Eternity 2.
Drunkards get sloppy, Tom.
Watch yourself. Drunks make poor allies.
Well, Don Salieri and Cardinal never met Murky, I'll tell you that much.
Buy me a bottle and I'll be your finest loving pal.
Like Eduardo Carnela from Stygian, Murky isn't a companion, but a follower. But since you can take or leave her for missions, since you can level her up individually, since you can equip her with gear, and because she kicks all the ass in the world, I won't be the one to quip over details. Monks have always been shunned and looked down upon in D&D and Pathfinder for being the weakest class in the game. Well, that's very much not the case in the world of Pillars of Eternity, and certainly not the case of Murky. She may come off as a goofy, drunken excuse of a pirate when you first meet her, but give her some time and you'll see that she's a powerhouse of damage and crowd control. Pillars of Eternity 2 isn't exactly difficult to begin with, but with Murky in your party, it's a walk in the park. Rex, Fallout New Vegas. They say dogs are man's best friend. Well, that certainly is the case with Rex in Fallout New Vegas. Rex is not only the most powerful companion you're likely to get in the game, but he also doesn't count towards your companion limit. Having Rex, in addition to another companion in your party, is exactly what you need to fully enjoy the exploration and questing in Fallout New Vegas without having to worry about those bothersome enemies. Just let the good boy take those pesky ranged attacks off your back with some proper, good old-fashioned tanking while you comfortably obliterate everyone to hell and gone with your own guns. If you're a gunslinging guy or gal, it doesn't get better than Rex. And if you're not, hey, you still get an extra companion, Anders, Dragon Age Awakening. Mages are ridiculously overpowered in Dragon Age. Not only can they play any role in your party, but they can do so better than any other class. They can do huge amounts of damage and healing very early in the game. Their Cone of Cold ability is borderline game-breaking when used together with any talent from the dual-wielding branch for rogues and warriors. And if that's not enough, you can cast the combination of Glyph of Repulsion and Glyph of Paralysis, none of which need the bad guys to be in the line of sight, to create a paralysis storm that will render all your enemies helpless before you even engage them.
Do you like cheese?
More than almost any other animal byproduct.
And while it takes some time for Morrigan or Wynn before they can use every trick in the Mage book, in Dragon Age Awakening, Anders gets almost every skill right off the bat. And if you've been saving those sweet Mage skill books for when you meet him, he'll be straight out game-breaking. Plus, you meet him almost at the very beginning of the game. Kara, Neverwinter Nights 2. There are many companions in Neverwinter Nights 2 who could have taken this spot. Oku from the Mask of the Betrayer expansion pack is one of the few truly overpowered tanks you have the joy of controlling in a video game. Chandra can become a more than competent warrior if you gear her up with some goodies, and she doesn't initially count towards your companion limit. And Shaeve is the cleric you didn't know you needed until you had her. But it's the sorceress Kara who steals the show here. Neverwinter Nights 2 was never too excessively difficult, even if it had its difficulty spikes every now and then. But they all came to an end when Kara came into my adventuring life. Kara made me change my outlook on the sorcerer class altogether for the 3rd edition advanced D&D rule set, and it made me prefer this class over wizards for a time. She was a weapon of mass destruction with a huge amount of casts per spell that would make her go on forever in a dungeon. So here's to you, my trigger-happy fireball-hurling friend. Kaela, Tower of Time. Summoning is the name of the game in this almost too mobile gamey RPG, and Gaela dominates this game like no other companion in Tower of Time. She's not only capable of insane amounts of damage with her technology, but her constructs take the steam off your other companions and do a sensational amount of damage themselves. You meet her a little too late in the game, but when you do, your party will be forever changed. Morte, Planescape Torment. Morte is the only character to make it to both lists, and there's a very good reason for that. I already said in the previous video that I don't know what I would have done without him, and that is true in every respect. Morte may be a pervy, goofy, funny-looking floating skull, but he's no joke. Morte is the real reason why you can roleplay in Planescape Torment, and go for a build that does not focus at all on beating the crap out of everything. He's not only a keeper because of what he has to bring to the table lore-wise, but because as a combat sidekick, he's simply second to none. So this is our list of companions who helped me reach the peak of my tactical assessment talents. What is your list of favorite overpowered little fuckers? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, thank you for watching all the way up until now. If you like what we're doing in this channel, please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell to avoid the usual YouTube shenanigans. Share the video, but most importantly, never stop gaming, but don't let gaming get in the way of your hopes and dreams. Bye everyone.